global warming, it's not our SUVs, it's that big flaming thing in the sky. I come to you today with a different message. I've stood here and I've listened, but there's a different message that I wish to deliver to you today. We live in confusing times. We live in a world that is suffering under the delusion of peace and prosperity. We are being told that the world is safer. We're being told that the world economy is stable and that Islamic killers are men of peace. The confusion comes from the abandonment of truth, a truth that has been chased out of our public squares, out of our public buildings, out of the media, our university, and quite frankly, many of our churches as well. But God's timing is divine. If we fail to restore truth, God will do it for us.
That's right.
So today, let's speak truth, God's truth, to the powers of the earth. I don't believe in coincidence. I told you when Benjamin Netanyahu came to Congress and spoke over a year ago, nobody really heard and saw the timing of his speech. When he spoke last year, the Torah portion that was studied that week in synagogues all over the world was the story of Esther. It was God's message to Esther. It was Benjamin Netanyahu's message to America. America has a special role, just like the role of Esther. And we can recognize it and save lives, or we can deny it and lose our role and lose our lives. But once again, God's timing is perfect. In this week's Torah portion, we are told of the story of the early Israelites, where Moses stood on the edge of the promised land and commanded God's people, choose life or death, light or darkness, or they would be swept from their promised land. Today, we are faced with the exact same choice. Choose life and light over darkness and death. But I have a renewed hope because something is happening in America. Something is happening all around the world. I believe we are no longer fooled by those who have made good evil and evil good. With Planned Parenthood and the slaughter of our police officers in the streets, while we get into bed with bad guys and run guns in Benghazi to people who now rape children and sell them into slavery, we realize now that we have been silent for far too long. We have been dulled into a senseless slumber.
7 years.
But there are millions of people that are waking right now all around the world. They're shaking themselves. They're shaking their families awake. They are turning back to eternal principles because there is a hunger for truth, unvarnished truth, authentic truth, eternal truth. We even have come now, thank God, to a point where we will accept that we may not like the truth, and we know that it will not make us comfortable, but we can deny it no longer. Today, we return to eternal principles, to stand with God and His chosen people. And make no mistake, that is exactly what this treaty is really all about. This time, darkness and evil comes differently. This time, evil has started to quench its thirst for blood with the extermination of the Christians. Just a few years ago in Syria, there were over 2 million Christians in Syria. There are now only 400,000 left. A genocide is already underway.
Shame on Obama.
But make no mistakes, it will kill the Muslims that aren't Muslim enough, the homosexual who just wants to live his life, The women and children and evil will get around to the Jew because it always does. After World War II, the world made a promise. After we saw the slaughter of innocents in World War II, we said, never again.
Never again.
I testify to you today that never again is now.
Amen. Amen.
Never again. Never again. Never again.
2 weeks ago, 30,000 people came to the same streets that gave birth to a movement that ended segregation. Many of you were there. We marched on the same streets that Martin Luther King marched. The city of Birmingham said it was the largest civil rights march in Birmingham since 1963. It was a unity march. It was people that had different backgrounds and different religions all coming together to take a stand. To stand for the victims that were being slaughtered by terrorists that are supported by Iran. To rescue those Christians who have been marked with the mark of the Nazarene for death. Our Statue of Liberty cries out to those people, the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to be free, the tempest-tossed. But our government will not take them. We will transplant entire Somali Muslim communities to Minneapolis, but we have closed our door and our hearts and stand silently by for the Christians who are crucified. Or even worse, we empower or fund Iran's goal of vaporizing Israel. In time, in mere minutes, Iran will be able to accomplish more than Hitler did in over a decade. Meanwhile, our own government, our representatives are giving us a false choice, a choice of treaty or war. This, make no mistake, was exactly what was said before World War II. The sane, the rational, were so desperate to avoid war that they sent the Prime Minister of England, Neville Chamberlain, to meet with Adolf Hitler. And evil wore its mask. It played the game and spoke the soothing words that evil always speaks when people are eager for peace. This is the original letter that Neville Chamberlain brought home. This is the letter signed by Neville Chamberlain that he wrote to the Hitler Youth, where he explained to the Hitler Youth that he had just met with their leader, and their leader wanted as much peace as Neville Chamberlain and the West did. Upon his return, the masses cheered as Chamberlain stepped from his plane and announced, "Peace in our day. But just as it was then, it is now a lie." There cannot be peace with anyone who chants for death of the Jew. There can be no peace with people who chant for death of anyone. Chamberlain's accord only gave evil more time, uncontested, to build the Nazi war machine and genocide machine. Peace in our day was the lie that Hitler gave to the West, and it is the lie of the Ayatollahs today. And today, our acceptance of this lie is made out of ignorance, out of wishful thinking, out of desperation, out of party politics, or at worst, collusion. Frankly, it does not matter which it is. What matters is today, the world must hear someone say, this is a false premise and this is a lie.
Amen.
There is only one that can choose war. They are those who wish to cover the world with their corrupted ideology that Allah is our God, and Allah demands death of all who will not submit. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is a God of spirit over flesh. He is a God of love and life. He is a God of hatred, of love and life over hatred and death. And today we must choose the God of life over the false God of death. We must not cower, and we must not compromise. It is beyond unreasonable not to take seriously the threat of death by another. When someone says they will wipe the Jew off the face of the earth, you must take them seriously. They mean it. I've been asked to speak, so you can either let me speak, or we can turn the music off, or I'll call it a day. Which do you To all those who make good evil and evil good, to all those who excuse or worse partner with this evil, know now you will be remembered as the Neville Chamberlains of this day, or worse, the Mussolinis. You will not be remembered well.
No.
Yet those who choose to stand against this tide of insanity will be remembered as righteous people, of children of courage. Today, I want the Almighty God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to know that I stand with His law, not those that are passed in the corrupt chambers behind me, but those that come from above. What is more, I will no longer fight against something. Let us begin here and now to fight for something. Fight for life. Fight for decency. Fight for the women who are devalued, the homosexuals who just want to live. Fight for the children that are crucified and are raped up to 10 times a day. Fight for life. Fight for light, because light will conquer the darkness. No matter where evil lurks, evil must be put on notice today, that the mighty arm of God is rising up, and evil will be defeated.
Yes!
It should enjoy this season of chaos, but know that it is short-lived, for we know how the story ends.
Yes, we do.
God does not pick sides, but He demands that we pick sides. Rest assured, evil's days are numbered, as are those days of those who rule with fear and terror and death, backroom deals and corruption. You are all put on notice today. You can play your games, you can count those votes. To those who say they will drive the Jew into the sea, they may think they have won. But they should understand they have not seen America, the real America, in over 70 years. And they have poked this bear one too many times. America may be delayed, but the rest of the world should know God will not be delayed. Make no mistake, treaty or none, the nation of Israel will stand. No Jew in Europe would have thought in 1944 that God would use that unending night to hold true to His promise and restore the nation of Israel, but He did. And I testify to you, He will do the same again today in His time and in His way. This era of confusion and error, these days of darkness will end, because our God is a God of covenants. We as His people must understand He will keep all of His promises. He has told us that He will bless those that bless Israel. He will curse those who curse Israel. I make you this promise and warning today. Those words will be fulfilled. Our action as a nation and as individuals today, the reason why I am here is because I want to be seen by the Almighty God, because our fate is being sealed. Let this be the day that we all declare, we shall serve no other king but God.
Amen.
He is a mighty and a just God, and a God of miracles, and I beg all with eyes to see and all with ears to hear. I beg, this is our last call to return to our roots and to choose life. The hour is later than we think, and the morning will come. And I warn those who wish to stand on the sidelines to claim ignorance or helplessness. Not to stand is to stand, not to speak is to speak. There will be no spectators in this struggle, and God will not hold you blameless. We are told by those in power that we must give in or the world will abandon us. First of all, I believe that is a lie, but if it were true, good, so be it. We are supposed to be the shining city on the hill. That's who we are. That is our purpose. We have to be the light in a world of darkness. We are the ones who are supposed to stand for morality, fight for those who can't protect themselves. Let the world abandon us. If that's who they are, we'll be better off alone.
Amen.
During the dark times in the Civil War, it's reported that Abraham Lincoln overheard someone remark, "I just hope the Lord is on the Union side." Lincoln responded with a sharp rebuke. He said, "I'm not at all concerned about that, for I know the Lord is always on the right side. It is my constant anxiety and my constant prayer that I and this nation should be on the Lord's side." This is the choice we have to make today, to be on the Lord's side. Declare now that no matter what a few in our government might decide, we the people do indeed stand with Israel. And we shall choose principles over parties, love over hate, light over darkness, life over death. We choose these things now, and we know our lives will forever be changed. And we know that the road less traveled is often fraught with difficulties. But we choose it today with confidence, because the outcome has already been decided. For our God is just. Our God is a God of mercy. Our God is a God of power and strength. Our God is a God that speaks the truth. And our God is a God that keeps and fulfills every promise.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Well, I'm glad you all can keep that energy up. Speeches like that certainly help. So among the voices that are no longer